We're live. Hello, everyone. Um, it is Monday, January 30th. So super excited about today's topic. Hope everyone is having a great Monday, and hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. Um, Up here in New England, think it was a little warm yesterday. It was like 50 degrees out yesterday, and for New England, that was actually pretty warm. So we today are going to be talking about something very exciting that I have to announce, which I'll save for the end. But we are going to be talking about helping you to stop struggling with your stress so that you can find productivity, right? Consistent productivity. Hey, Annette, thanks for joining. Um, so, yeah, so that is what we're going to be jamming on today. And again, I have a pretty exciting announcement that um, I'll save towards the end. So um, let's see here. So if you're catching this live, hey Melinda, thanks for joining. Thanks for putting hashtag live too. I appreciate it. If anybody is watching this on the replay, definitely put hashtag replay. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section and I certainly will answer your questions. If you want me to elaborate on anything, definitely put that in there too if nothing makes sense. If you want me to frame it a different way. So definitely we'll do that as well. So yeah, so we are going to talk about how you can stop struggling with stress and find productivity. So now that is a really loaded statement because stress for different people shows up in different ways. So we're going to keep it a very generic framework for the purposes of this live. And before I forget to, I do have a monthly mastermind it's a mindset mastermind. And if you're interested in working with me a little bit closer, would love to have you inside. And if you want the details on that, just reach out to me and I'll send you over the details. You can check them out. If it's for you, great. You can jump in. If it's not, that's great too. But just wanted to let you know. So what I do is the frameworks that I go over on these lives are things that I take a deeper dive in when I work with the folks in my monthly mastermind. So if you want a deeper dive, just let me know. So preventing burnout is the number one way to stop struggling with the stress that you have, especially as you are starting and continuing to build your online business. I myself have brought myself into burnout several times, and it was mainly in the beginning. Hey, Georgie, thanks for joining. It was mainly burnout in relation to what I call consumptionitis. So I found myself, this is online business is in marketing is a completely new thing for me. I've been an entrepreneur since 2006 with my own brick and mortar, but it's a very different, very, very different business altogether. So when I first started, I wanted to know everything, right? Even though, they said, you don't need to know everything to get started, blah, 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 just do this, just do that. Like, but I felt like so many other people, right? Like, all right, well, I'm just getting started. How can I get started creating content when I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, right? I needed to Google terms because I had no idea what a lot of the online, even the professional like phrases were in products and like all that. I had no idea what any of that meant. So for me, it was extremely frustrating, but I was falling into the pit of consumptionitis. I was watching everything and everything and everything and everything and, watching it over again. And like, my brain was just fried. Like here, I thought that I was, busy doing all of this stuff for my business when in fact all I was doing was consuming. And I wasn't actually really applying any of it. And part of that too was a lot of what I was learning just didn't sit right with me. So it didn't make sense for me to create a lot of content based on how it was I was being instructed to do that as well. So um, I would say I wouldn't, frustration, stress, anxiety, like whatever label you put on that is whatever label you put on it. But my sense of I'm live on TikTok too, and my screen's doing something weird. Hey, David, thanks for joining. Um, my overwhelm, right, led to burnout, led to no productivity whatsoever. I wasn't watching videos. The only thing I did consistently was show up once I get into coaching, was show up to my coaching, right? I felt almost paralyzed because I just, um, I just couldn't grasp like what it was I was trying to learn, right? So I want to help you all to not stop or stall or walk away from your online business due to stress and lack of business building productivity strategies that you should be doing, right? So early recognition of burnout is something that is extremely helpful. So when your brain just feels like you can't fill anymore, right? When you start to get confused, when you start to just not know where to start, right? That's when you're experiencing burnout because you've tried to consume too much stuff, right? So it's best, in my opinion, to walk away for a day. Walk away for a day, get pen and paper, get a whiteboard, whatever it is that you do. If you like those online digital products where you can create like beautiful graphics, like I think Wisteria might be one of them. Maybe that's a plant. I'm not really sure. Whimsical. Maybe it's Whimsical. Something with a W, right? I don't use it, so I'm sorry. I can't send you in the right direction. It might be Whimsical. That you can create like just a beautiful graph of like your whole business, right? So then that way you can see what parts of your business are kind of like stumping you and causing you to feel like um, mentally fatigued, right? Because that's pretty much what burnout is. So recognizing those early signs is going to be crucial for you to not feel like you want to walk away or stop altogether. And it's what prompted me to put together what I put together today, thinking about all of these things, right? And creating something that I wish I had when I first started, um, just to kind of give me an idea, right? So, um, also too, when you want to decrease burnout, is you want to be like you want to self-reflect. Like, all right, what is it that I'm doing? If you're spending, um, say you work full time and you're spending 3 hours a day just watching videos, right? You're going to burn yourself out. Don't do that. Watch maybe 30 minutes of a video and then go do something about it. Create some content, create a video, create a digital asset with like a Google Doc, like go do something about it. Go live on a platform, talk about what you just learned, right? Share it with someone. Um, do something about it. And then go back the next day, pick up where you left off, watch 30 more minutes, do something more about it, right? That's how you're best going to learn too, is that learn, do, teach model. And I would say probably weekly in the beginning, weekly. And what I mean by beginning is before you start to see your business is just starting to be streamlined, right? That anything before like that streamline, like money's coming in, um, customers, leads are coming in, people that want to work with you are consistently coming in, like your content that you put out is constantly working for you, right? Because people are picking up what you're laying down, right? That's what I mean. So if you're not at that level yet, that everything before then is what I consider in the beginning. So if you're in the beginning stages of your business, I would recommend once a week, take a look at your graph, right? And find out, are your goals still the same? Are you daily goals, weekly goals, all of that stuff? Have your skills greatly grown because now you've got maybe some more conversations, maybe some more content created, um, maybe you've um, maybe you've even had a few sales, regardless of the monetary value, right? um, Even if you have something $5 to promote, if somebody has purchased it, right, that's a success. If someone has asked you to help them with something and you've helped them with something, that's a success, right? So hello, the dogs just decided to join me. um, so that's a success, right? So about once a week, whatever day works for you, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it might be, right? Take an assessment of what your daily task looks like, weekly task looks like, and any forward momentum and not forward momentum that you have, right? Another one, and I've been looking at these, another one is regular exercise. Now, that could mean anything, right? That could mean a 10-minute walk a couple times a day. That could mean, whatever it is that you do, the gym, whatever. Regular exercise, we know, increases all those happy chemicals in our body, right? And keeps us going, keeps us mentally clear. Um, that's something that I've been working on improving since the beginning of this year. I've been working on my overall self-care, right? Because it's important. I'll let you figure out what your regular exercise, right? Eating healthy. So I was trying to do something last week, and I was trying to figure out something, and I just couldn't figure it out. I was getting so frustrated, and I realized I was hungry. And I have this thing with my blood sugar drops pretty hard and fast when I'm hungry, and I get a massive headache. I have physical symptoms, right? It's not just a matter of being hungry. So, but one of the symptoms that I have as a result of that is I just can't concentrate. I can't concentrate. I can't have a conversation. I can't stand myself, right? And it's all because I'm hungry. So last week when I was trying to do something, which was very simple to do, it's something I've done before, I literally could not figure it out. And I'm like, you know what? I went and had lunch, walked away from the computer, sat down 30 minutes, right? Had lunch, listened to Mel Robbins, who I love, while I was eating my lunch, was mindful of my food, right? And then when I came back upstairs to tackle it, no problem. Boop, done. And I was like, I cannot do things when I'm hungry. I just don't have the brain capacity. And it's because of that hypoglycemia is what it's called. It's because my blood sugar drops, and I've been like that my whole life. It runs actually in my family. So, and another thing that I do, and I actually shared, I actually created content about it today, is women, sorry men, I don't know if this happens to you, but women, as we get older, right? I'm 51, so as we get older, we hold on to fluids more than when we were younger. I don't know if this always happens, but it didn't always happen for me. So what I've started doing is making it is I call it a detox shake. It's like an anti-inflammatory drink that I drink. I drink it from after I have my breakfast, and then I drink it over the course of like 2 to 3 hours until I have lunch, right? And it really helps just flush all the excess fluid in my body and keeps me from feeling like I'm, you know, like a puffer man, like that, right? You know what I mean? Like if anyone's experienced bloat, you know what that feels like, right? So that's why it's really important to eat really healthy foods too, because when you're, and I'm certainly not a dietitian or a doctor or anything like this. This is just based on my own experience, right? When you're eating food that is simple for your body to process, it doesn't require more brain energy, right? It doesn't cause that brain fog that we've all heard about. And you bloat so easily. Absolutely. Georgia, you probably would love my drink that I make. It's super easy to make, super delicious. Um, I'll send you the recipe when I get off the live. Um, it's delicious, right? And you would think that it's not really good for you, but it's actually really good for you. And then um, I drink a lot of ounces of water a day. They say, I'm not going to share how much I weigh, but they say that you should drink half your body weight in water, especially when you're exercising. So I've always stuck to that. And some days I don't hit that mark, but the majority of the days I do. So say, for instance, you weigh 100 pounds, you should drink about 100 ounces of water, right? Um, I don't know how true that is. I heard it somewhere. Maybe my trainer told me that. I don't really know, but I've held on to that. So um, you figure it out and see if that works for you, right? And that, yes, I'll send you the recipe. Um, and another important thing is, so most people who are starting an online business are, oh, and then I forgot to add you as a moderator too for TikTok. Um, a lot of people who are starting an online business, most of the time, it's going to be you're working from home, right? So what does working from home do? You have great intentions, you set up your computer. Maybe you don't have an office, right? So you set up your computer at the kitchen table, and, maybe you have animals. There's 3 dogs here. There's chickens outside. I can hear the rooster cock-a-doodle doing. Dogs come by. The dogs go nuts. They bark like, um, and then you look over at the fridge, and there's, streak marks on the fridge because the dogs like to, I don't know, they smell the fridge. So there's like dog painting is what I call it, you know, fingerprints and like, so then you get distracted. And then you look up and you look at the fan and you're like, oh God, that's really dirty. So then you get up, right? And you start doing things in the house that get you distracted, things that need to get done, but things that get you distracted, right? Maybe it's on purpose, right? Maybe you've run into something that's a little bit difficult and you're like, oh God, I'd rather clean the fan. So you go clean the fan, right? So you're, in essence, kind of like self-sabotaging your own productivity. So when you're working from home, it is extremely important to carve out a space that is just yours, right? So my office space is my tiny ass little bedroom, right? Whatever. This little nook here. Anyone who's been following me for a while, I used to have pictures. I used to have a clock, and I used to have pictures that my kids made. Well, I used those, don't destroy the wall tape things, and they just started to fall off. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to give a blank slate. This that you see over here, this is my bureau, right? This is my fancy water bottle that I got at the Miami airport. It's actually aluminum, so it's reusable. Sucker cost me a lot of money, but you know what? I loved it because it reminded me of South Beach in the 80s, which I never got to see, but it reminded me of South Beach in the 80s, which South Beach doesn't look like that anymore. Huge disappointment when I went. But I love that water bottle. I love water bottles. So, yeah, so scroll moment. So when you have an online business, it's important to carve out your own space, right? So I do. This is my bedroom. So I have to work. I have to work a lot. This is the only room in the house I have that I do anything with, right? I live in a shared house, and um, this is my room, right? I mean, I use the kitchen and stuff like that, but this is my room. This is my space. So I have my little office nook here. I finally got an office chair, and I brought my elephant chair to my brick and mortar office because that just wasn't comfortable to sit in. And I primarily work from home. Um, so carve out a little nook in your house. If you have to buy little bifolds to, you know, to close out the distraction, then do that. They make some beautiful ones, right? Make your own. Don't put family pictures on it, because then you're gonna be like, oh, my son was so cute. Oh, my grandson. Oh, my granddaughter, right? You're gonna get distracted by the cuteness. So if you create one, get some secondhand, bifold closet doors, paint them, right? You can do things cheap. It doesn't need to be expensive. But carve out your little nook inside your house that is just your workspace, right? I honestly would recommend, if you have the luxury of not leaving the house and traveling somewhere and working for someone else, like if you are completely self-employed like I am, and your days are yours to judge, I would recommend finding the time of day where you are the most productive and carve out like 2 1.5 hour segments that you're going to work on your business, right? And anyone who's caught my live before, you may remember me recommending this, but you can get one of these big old whiteboard, right? I have another one next to me that you can't see. Get one of those. You could simply get a 8x11 piece of 8x10, whatever, however size, that normal like copy paper, right? And separate it into 8 sections, right? I've mentioned a paper plate before. People have tried that. That works. But if you want to do just, if you like something that is uniform and square, right? Take something like this, separate it into 8 sections. So those are your 2 hour, total 2 hour. So they're going to be, each section is going to be 15 minutes, right? So that's 2 hours of productivity that you have on this, right? Figure out what it is that you need to do in 15-minute increments. If it requires 25 minutes, that's 2 squares. I don't care if it's 5 minutes less. It's 2 squares. Pop in a 5-minute break where you get up and move, right? Anything more than 15 minutes lapses over to another square, right? Don't go, 17 minutes here. Oh, this is going to be 13 minutes. No, don't do that, right? Don't do that. Because if something takes you 20 minutes, you get a 10-minute break. Use that. Go get up and move. Shut off your phone, leave the computer, take a break for 10 minutes. Go stand outside. Go do something that is not screen related for 10 minutes, right? Go clean the fan. Who cares, right? Then come back to it and get back to your squares. So, because if you're spending 8, 9, 10, 12 hours on your business in the beginning, you're going to burn yourself out. It's too much time. It's too much time. There's only so much that our brains can take in at a time. So if you're powering through it, you're going to end up going like, oh God, it's just awful, right? I don't know about any of you, but when I did work for someone else, it was, I'm very grateful. It was my choice. But getting through 8.5 friggin' hours chained to someone else, them dictating what I do with 8.5 hours, is awful. Awful, right? Awful. So that's what I recommend doing. I recommend doing 2 1.5 hours or 2 2-hour segments, right? Broken down on an 8x10 piece of paper. 15-minute increments. So 8 15-minute increments is 2 hours, right? So try that. It works. It works to keep you focused. It works to keep you on task. It works to keep you accountable to yourself. And it works to keep you from getting so overwhelmed with consumptionitis, right? It can be so overwhelming. And everything you do in those 8 15-minute segments should all lead to the next, right? So try that. Let me know how that works. when you're working from home, again, get in some exercise. Again, every minute that doesn't take up 15 minutes is a chance for you to take a break. Go fill your water bottle. Make sure that that's full, right? Use it for a snack, whatever it might be. It's important. It's important. Get up and move, right? I have back issues. So if I sit for more than about 45 to 50 minutes, I start to get a lot of pain. It's a lot better now that I have a much nicer chair versus my elephant chair is comfortable, but it's not it's not a work chair, right? It just doesn't have the support. So I'm interested, does anybody have a walking pad? So I guess it's a little bit different than like a treadmill, um, because you can so it's meant to go like under a desk, so you can have like, you're walking as you're moving, as you're working. And I've actually started to do some of that. Um, some of the trainings that I have, I can access them on my phone. So I've been putting my headphones in and I've been jumping on my treadmill and I've been listening to the training. So they're trainings that I've already listened to, but I'm re-listening to them. So um, I'm not like super concerned about like missing something crucial or taking notes or whatever. Um, but interestingly enough, I love the idea of a desk that can raise up and then I can have a walking pad underneath it. Um, no, you don't have a walking pad in it. Um, I didn't know they were called walking pads until my son pointed it out to me. But yeah, they're called walking pads. They're really cool. They're fairly inexpensive too. Um, I don't have the capability of doing that, but I do have a treadmill downstairs that I have been using, even if it's just to jump on for 15 minutes, just to kind of move and get things going throughout the day. Because as you work from home, you do spend a lot of time being sedentary, and that's just not good for our body. So, um, keeping yourself organized when you're working at home, right, is crucial. Crucial. The last thing you want is to be like, oh, I know I wrote that down. Where did I write that down? So now you're looking through 72 notebooks to try to find out where you wrote something down, right? So I'm a fan of using Google Notes, right? Google Docs, right? So you know the you know the notes, the Google Docs, whatever. Um, but I label them in such a way that I know when I need to go back to them, I know it's going to be in that doc, right? So that's how I say organize. And then I go into my Google Drive and I organize them into folders. So I know, like, if it's something like motivation or if it's mindset or if it's anxiety or if it's trauma, um, something like that, I know what folder it's in so I can access it quickly. I'm a fan of pen and paper. However, when I first started, I was writing everything down and I had probably 12 3-subject notebooks. Ask me how many times I referred back to them and looked in them. Not once, because it spent me, well, I should say I did once. And I realized that I spent more time trying to find the freaking thing that I wrote down versus all I had to do. And this is what I figured out. Here's a tip for everyone. If you're watching a training, right? Chances are if you've bought a training, you have access to the replays and anything that they add. Instead of taking extensive notes on what they're saying, take a note on what training it is, what video it is, what minute it is on the training video that you want, right? So that way, when you go back and you look at your notes, you're like, oh, that's right. Video number 3, Colleen talked about reducing stress and reducing burnout. And that is video 3. And, whatever. It's minute 18 is what I want to remember, right? That's a good way to take notes that are working for you rather than summarizing the whole entire training that you're watching, right? Because you can just go back and watch it. But if that's how I learn to take notes, is I do that. I do the video. I put the label of the video of whatever course I'm watching, and then I put the minute that is really interesting, right? And I go back and rewatch it, so that way my note taking is organized, and I'm not spending, an hour looking through. Um, no problem, Georgie. Thanks for popping on. Um, and that's how I started to take notes, and it frustrated me a lot less, because then once I was um, confident that I knew that, I could just take it out of my notes thing, right? I could just delete it from my Google Doc thing. Um, exactly, Melinda, and shorter time taking notes as well. Taking notes and writing things down is so beneficial, because it has that brain, mechanic, like, connection that it does. You want to not just memorize this stuff, you want to learn this stuff, because you want to use it right in your business. So it's a different kind of note taking. So try that strategy. Let me know if it works for you guys. It worked really well for me. I actually ended up getting rid of all those notebooks um, that I found that I wasn't going to spend any time looking back through. And I went back through the courses, and I took notes based on the video, the title, what it was I liked about it, and why I should go back and watch it. It's really important when you work for yourself to unplug during non-work hours. And for anyone who has caught my lives before, or had a conversation with me, I unplug from social media like 2.5 days a week. Usually on my long private client days, I don't spend too much time on social media, because I'm working with person, right? Um, so I'm not usually on social media, like checking messages or anything like that. I do create my short form video content. I do have that all ready to go in my drafts. So I do log on, post it, and then I get back off, and then I'll download it and get it onto Facebook Reels and stuff like that. But that's all I'll do on my time off, right? So whatever your time off entails for you, um, it's important to not be attached to your phone. It's important to not feeling like you're missing out on things, right? Because the beauty part of creating content on social media, right, regardless of what platform, is you're creating a digital footprint, right? Other people are creating a digital footprint. It's there. Go back and check out what they did. Go back and read, right? Um, and if it's anything that one of your coaches is doing, that's a day that you're going to show up, right? So unplug on your off time. Unplug. Um, Taking notes, pen and paper, but go over it every 3 days, then see if important, and then shorten. Yeah, and if that process works for you, then that's fantastic. But that's in that repetition of writing something down, going back and rereading it, and then rewriting it again, can definitely help you learn. Um, for me, that wouldn't work, because that's a lot of touching one thing multiple times. But I certainly appreciate if that's what works for you. Absolutely. In the beginning, I felt like I needed to write everything down, which is extremely unusual, because in the 8 years of college that I went to, I never took notes. Never. I don't even think I brought a notebook. I don't even think I bought a notebook. In the 8 years that I went to college, I purchased one textbook in all 8 years. Now, I went to college before Google was a thing, right? So before online was really big, right? I mean, it was out there, but it wasn't like it is today. Um, so, but I do like to write certain things down. Um, so yeah, I certainly understand how it helps you learn because of that repetition, right? That repetition, using your brain, using your hand, writing it down, reading it, like, you're getting it through different senses, which is important. And another really important way um, to stop struggling with stress and find productivity is to reach out for help. Do you have an accountability group? Do you have mentors that you're paying for? Do you have mentors that you're not paying for? Um, if you're catching this on Facebook, you're probably in several groups, right? Reaching out to group members. And I know in the online space, it is rather difficult, especially in the marketing online space. From my experience, it is difficult to reach out to other marketers that maybe you've never met before, right? To try to establish an actual relationship because they all want to sell you something, right? We're all marketers, we all have things to sell, we're all building a business. But sometimes you just friggin' want to connect with someone. You just want to connect with someone. You want to ask them questions. You want them to ask you questions, right? You just want to form a friendship. And that can be so difficult to do in the online space. I've been extremely fortunate. I've met amazing people who who I would call friends, who I would not even hesitate to ask them a question at any point in time during the day, right? Um, and I've met people that just want to pitch me their products. And that's fine too, if they do it in a respectful way, right? But like when you've been in the space for a while, like you can tell when someone's like jumping off to let me sell you my shit type thing versus like they're like, hey, I saw that you were on so and so's live. Like, what do you think of the group? Like, and they start off the conversation much differently, right? I had someone reach out to me, I don't remember when it was, but they're like, hey, notice that we're in the same group together, right? And I had never seen this person before. I never saw their name. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What group are we in together? And their response was, oh, I don't know. I'm in like 700 groups. I don't know which one it was. Well, you know what? That instantly told me that that was not a genuine connection. They weren't connecting with me because something about me vibed with them. They wanted to sell me something, right? And again, that there's nothing wrong with that, but be genuine in how you reach out to people, right? Just be genuine. Be like, hey, I love your content. I saw, this, and this, blah, 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 blah. Like, um, what platform, where are you learning from? Like, whatever, right? Just, just be genuine. Don't come off with, well, hey, so we're in the same group, thought I'd connect. Like, like, just, I don't know, just be generic. So lastly, on stopping your struggle with stress and finding your productivity is number one thing, taking back your schedule, right? If you're in an online business, you can turn it into a full work day if you want to, right? If you want to spend 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours working on your business, do that. But I don't recommend you do that for more than 2 hours at a time, right? Um, Figure if you're an employee, right? You have to work 8.5 hours to get your half-hour lunch paid for, right? So you have 8 hours, but in that 8 hours, you're entitled to two 15-minute breaks as well. So if you work for 2 hours, take a 15-minute break, right? Walk away from all screens, walk away from all business, get back to it for 2 hours, then maybe take a lunch, take an hour for lunch, take a half hour for lunch, get out, take a walk, whatever. And then hit it for another 2 hours, hit it for 2 more sections of an hour and a half, right? And then be done, right? And you, of course, can span that out throughout 12 hours, right? It doesn't have to be like a structured 8-hour workday, so to speak, right? It's your business. You can do it however you want. But I don't recommend you do more than that because you're going to get burnt out. You're going to be so stressed out because you're going to be so frustrated with trying to learn everything, right? And you're going to wake up the next day not really retaining much of what it was you spent trying to learn. So you're going to get really frustrated. You're going to get frustrated why you're not getting it. You're going to get frustrated, and then you're going to go find yourself applying for jobs, right? So if you are working primarily for yourself and you do not have a job you go to, if you can't block off some time to unplug, to exercise, something to move your body, to eat well, to get a good night's sleep, then you're not running a business. You're running yourself ragged. And that's never, ever, ever, ever good, right? So hopefully this was extremely helpful to everyone. Thank you for everyone who is still on. I can see that there's 2 people still on. Does anybody have any questions before I go? Oh, so my 2 really cool announcements. So I mentioned in the beginning that I do have a monthly mindset mastermind, right? If you're interested in working a little bit more closely with me, getting all my goodies, then send me a direct message and I'll get you that information. And I have put together a questionnaire. It's going to be free. It is a questionnaire for people to fill out, questions to ask themselves before they take the entrepreneurial plunge, right? And it's something that I wish I had access to. Again, I probably could have like Google search things, but there are certain questions that I wish I had known to ask when I was first starting, right? You can't really ask questions about things if you don't know, because what you don't know, right? So if anybody is interested in taking a look at the questions, I know if you're here watching me on Facebook, if you're watching me from one of the groups, chances are you've already started. If you want to take a look at it, give me feedback. I'd love that. Because right now it's just from my perspective. So it may not be as helpful from someone else's perspective. So it's like 3 pages long, 4 pages long, maybe. If you'd like to see that again, to use it, you could have it as an asset, give me some feedback, whichever. I'd appreciate that. So if there's no questions, I'm going to go. Sure, Annette, I'll send it to you. After this live, I'm just gonna polish it up a little bit. I'll go through it one more time and make sure that I want to keep everything that's in there. Maybe some things I want to shorten a little bit so it's not as heavy of a read, because I was surprised it ended up being like 4 pages long. I thought it would be like 2 max. So I'll send it to you. I'd love to have your feedback. I will be back on. So my goal is for everyone who's watching me on TikTok, if anyone who is still watching me, my goal is to go live daily on TikTok. The times are going to vary. And on Facebook, the goal is to be here 3 days a week and going live. And the topic of the week is going to be posted on the topic of the lives, so you'll know kind of what to expect. And yeah, so again, hopefully today was helpful. Hopefully it's some things that you weren't doing already, hopefully you can implement and start to find a really good balance for yourself. So, all right. Have a good rest of your Monday, everyone, or Tuesday, depending on where in the world you're watching. I will see you all on Wednesday.